Hi, Delaware. Welcome to Young Voices United. My name is Alex Southers from the United Way of Delaware, and I am joined by our summer youth program consisting of high school students and college students. Today we are going to have a very robust discussion about a variety of topics that young people care about today. So without further ado, I am going to let our summer youth introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Nasir. I'm 19 and I'm a freshman in college.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm 15 and I'm a sophomore in high school.
Hi, my name is Maya. I'm 18. I'm a freshman in college.
Hi, my name is Ramis. I'm 15 and I'm a sophomore in high school.
Hi, my name is Tyrone. I'm 17 and I'm a senior in high school.
Hi, my name is Kaylin. I'm 18 and I'm a sophomore in college.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Well, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but coming up in the fall, we actually have midterm elections. So something that I'd really love to hear your thoughts on, seeing as we have a nice mix of high school and college sitting up here, is as of late, we've noticed that young people are becoming more and more involved in politics. They're becoming more involved in their community, the things going on in their state. How would you guys feel, potentially, about the voting age being lowered to the age of 16, because of course it's at 18 right now, which would then allow you to participate in your local, your state, and national elections? Who wants to kick us off? Go for it, Tyrone.
Me personally, it's like 50-50 for me. Because it's like, okay, yes, 16-year-olds, like, we're wise, we like know what we want. But then again, like, are we mature enough to vote? And then also, it's like, do you really want a 16, maybe even 15-year-old, like, being able to control what happens? Because they probably don't even know what happens. And to be honest, at 16, I was not watching the news. I was too busy watching, like, Disney Channel. So, like, who is, like, it's 50-50 for me.
Interesting.
I also think it's 50-50 because there's a lot of 16-year-olds that are mature for their age. And I feel like there's a lot of problems that also, they affect adults, but they also affect the teenagers. And I feel like a lot of adults don't realize that. Even though people are talking about it, they don't really understand what the teens are coming from. So for them to like just dismiss us and make it seem like, oh, we're a teen, we don't know. And there's a lot of people that do watch the news more than adults, or there are teens that are more into politics and understand the workings of it. So I feel like it really just depends on the person. So I don't think we should judge on the age.
I feel like another thing is when it comes to that age, there's a lot of parents that dictate what the child thinks. Like growing up, even if you don't realize it, there's a bunch of beliefs that are placed into your head between religion and household beliefs. So it's kind of hard to know whether that's an appropriate age for us to lower it to.
I mean, in a same vein, though, what would you say to people who say, oh, well, allowing a 16-year-old to vote actually gives them more of a voice, and it allows them to break away from, you know, what they've been taught, what they've grown up with, the environment that they've had pushed onto them? What would you say to that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that voting doesn't like necessarily open you up to that because like the process of voting, it's just picking like, you know, like filling out the ballot. So if like the issue is, you know, we want to make sure that people have like access to a variety of opinions and perspectives, just lowering the voting age isn't gonna do that.
I think that's a really, really good point. You know, I also think that part of the reason that this is becoming an issue, part of the reason that we're discussing the concept of potentially lowering that voting age is because we are seeing young adults becoming more and more involved in their communities. And I'm not just talking about things like activism or advocacy. I'm talking about going out and getting jobs and being employed and paying taxes, helping to support their families, really, really contributing to society. And you know, I think that part of the issue that some people see with that is we're taxing these students. You know, we're having them go to school. We're pulling from their income to support these schools, to fund roads, to fund improvements made to their community, but they don't have any say in that. They don't have any say in who gets elected to their school board. What do you think about that?
basically I look at it as a life lesson, because that's what it's basically opening doors to, is a life lesson. Because when you get that privilege to vote, now you know that now my voice is being heard by the voting, and the person that I'm voting for, I know that I did research background, I heard them speak, so I know that they're doing things that's going to concern my life and help me in the future. So basically it's a life lesson for all of them. That's what I look at it, as a life lesson.
I also feel like if we're going to lower it, we would have to put stuff in the school system, like educate the kids on voting and why it's important. Even if we talk about the politicians that are running, because a lot of people don't watch the news. I don't watch the news, and I'm 18.
Well, I think that's something that Kaylin said, actually, right? You had brought up the concept that just lowering the voting age doesn't mean that it makes teens more engaged. It doesn't mean that they automatically are going to be more involved, which I think, I sort of agree with. This concept that there has to be more done. Maybe we need to consider our curriculum in schools. Maybe we need to put a better emphasis on history education, a better emphasis on education involving current events, a better emphasis on civic engagement. Because I remember, I was in high school not too long ago. It really wasn't all that long ago. And I remember, not actually being all that involved in my community and not really knowing who was on my school board, not hearing about those decisions.
And I agree with all those things, and I think that in an ideal society, like, that would be amazing. But if we look at the state of the country right now, where they're already banning certain topics from schools and they're already trying to remove certain things from the curriculum, like, obviously it would be ideal if we could, like, have these sort of things in place, but the reality is it probably wouldn't be accepted. And then even if it was, you also have the issue of certain teachers having bias, and they may not, be teaching an objective, overview of the facts about, politicians today.
But with that being said, I would make that as that would be an encouragement for me to let my voice be heard, because we're going to have people that's against it and for it. But I know with me saying something and speaking up about it, that's going to show that I really want this to happen, because this is something that's concerning me. This is something that's concerning my education. And not just me personally, but this is concerning these 16-year-old education. But you have to learn that there are going to be people that's going to agree and disagree with you, but you still have to keep fighting on for what you're believing and what you stand for.
I would just like to say, this is my personal opinion, that there's a difference between voting for like government people and then voting for people on a school board. The difference is that while voting for your school board, you may be able to better improve the school that you are in and where you are, to have a better learning system and have students be treated better than before. But the difference between that and the government is you're having people decide for an entire country of people who all have their individual beliefs and decisions.
Do you think that maybe there's a compromise then? Do you think that maybe there would be a world in which we might say, okay, well, 16-year-olds can participate in their school board elections, or they can participate in their city council elections, but they can't participate in state elections or in national elections? Or do you think that causes a whole new issue?
Personally,
Go for it.
we live in a democracy, which means we, the people, get to choose what we want. So then again, 16 is a little too young to tell me, like, I mean, we all have our wants and our needs, but are those wants and our needs going to benefit everybody? So I feel like when you're 18, you've been through it all. You've been through high school, you've been through middle school, you know what you want to see change. When you're 16, you're still in high school. You probably can't even like drive yet. So how you getting there?
Yeah, but there's things that 16-year-olds gone through in their life that 18-year-olds might not have. Maybe they might have lived longer, but the 16-year-old could have had maybe a harder time at home, or they more had to grow up because of something that happened in the household. So they have a more mature mindset than an 18-year-old, because still again, an 18-year-old might be 2 years older, but they're still figuring out their way of life too. So it's just like, you can't say like maybe there are immature 16-year-olds, of course. Like there's going to be 18-year-olds who are act just like the 16-year-old, or there's going to be a 16-year-old that could be more, like I said, more mature than the 18-year-old. And I understand you're saying they live longer, you know, they have more experiences, but you really don't know that, because this 18-year-old could be just going to school and then coming back home. But this 16-year-old might have to have like 2 jobs and stuff like that just to support their family. So it's just like,
Yeah, I definitely don't believe that age justifies maturity.
right,
Because, I mean, right now there's a trend on TikTok where people are stealing cars
right,
as a trend, and people don't have their cars. They need to get to their jobs. They need to do this and that. So age is not maturity. Age is just a number, for real, for
Right.
real. We have adults that tell us, oh, you can't do this and that because you're this age. But we have jobs. We get money. We do what we have to do to survive in this adult world.
right.
I think we're opening up a whole other can of worms with the maturity question.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a whole other debate. You know, I think that this is a debate that will stand the test of time. I don't think we'll ever come to an agreement about whether age is just a number or not, because I think that's a really slippery slope in a lot of situations. So sort of switching gears, but because we were talking about school, I know a lot of you are gearing up to go back to college, to start college, to go back to high school pretty soon. You have less than a month for a lot of you. I know when I was in high school, I had to, every morning, come into my homeroom classroom, hear the morning announcements, and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that something that you all have to do?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to do the morning Pledge
I
of
do
Allegiance.
not have to do that.
You,
So
You-
I
it's,
choose not
they
to.
would expect us to do it, but I feel like I'm not doing it, because what my beliefs are in this, my freedom of speech, I'm not standing. I understand maybe others might stand. That's okay. You do what you got to do. But personally, me, I'm not standing. I'll respect your belief. I'm not gonna like come at you like, oh, why are you standing up? But I'm gonna sit down. Like, I'm gonna be quiet, let y'all do your pledge and preach. But that's
And I-
not
well,
for me.
and that's actually, sorry, Tyrone, but that's the question that I have for you guys, because we have seen a couple of Supreme Court cases where it was discussed whether schools have the right to require their students to stand up and perform the Pledge of Allegiance, and whether or not they have the right to discipline students who refuse to. Because I don't know, like, an argument I have heard is, well, what if it's someone who maybe isn't entirely an American citizen? Or maybe, what if it's someone who isn't only American when it comes to their nationality? They have multiple nationalities, and they feel as though maybe it's a little strange for them to have to pledge allegiance to a flag. What do you guys think?
That's like telling a Muslim to go to like, I don't know, take off the hijab or something. Like, we all say we have freedom, so why can't we use our freedom in school? Why can't I choose if it goes against my beliefs? And as, I hope I'm not speaking for you all, but like as an African American man, what has that flag done for me? Why do I need to stand? Why can I sit and you guys can stand? Be my guest. I mean, I'm not gonna fight y'all, but I'm gonna sit in my seat and mind my business and go along with my day. Period.
I don't think that schools should require people to stand for Pledge of Allegiance, and I also think they shouldn't be playing it at all, because by doing that, you're forcing people to publicly show their opinion, which is kind of inappropriate. That's like going around and like asking people like just their personal like political opinions, which I think everybody would agree that'd be like really weird if the teachers like went around and like asked like, oh, do you support this cause?
Definitely inappropriate.
Yeah, so I think that the schools shouldn't even be playing it at all, because then you're forced to like publicly stand or sit down, either which I don't think people should have to say that.
Which puts you in a predicament of you're either gonna have to argue or you're just gonna be hated on for not standing or standing.
Go for it, Maya.
Okay. I think it's important to note that the blue that's in the flag is about justice. What justice have we received, especially as a African American woman in America? I just want someone to give me something that I've received as justice. And it's also important to note there's 2 different perspectives of what the flag represents. So somebody might not have your same perspective, because the people who tell me I need to stand are the people who are like, oh, this is for the soldiers and memorizing, you know what I mean? Yeah. But when I see it, I think of, oh, it's about unity and justice for all. But I haven't seen that justice myself. So how am I supposed to stand for something that I can't relate to?
Exactly. Period.
Well, go for it, Aramis.
Thank you. I just don't want my opinion to be trampled. But it is just my personal opinion. It might have done with where I grew up and the type of schools I've been to. But I believe that people should stand up for the American flag. Like, of course, like, if you're not originally from here and you moved here, you shouldn't be required here. But if you were born and raised in America, then it's almost like your obligation to be able to stand up for your country. And yeah, people say that, oh, I haven't seen justice, but the thing is, there are people that take advantage of these higher positions and where they are in the community to step on younger or like not as high positions, which isn't something one single person can control. So saying that someone hasn't shown justice for your community is setting a pretty high bar, because not everyone can just control you.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question real quick?
You're so right. Nobody can control me. So if I choose not to stand, I'm not going to stand.
Can I ask him a question?
Go
real
ahead.
Yeah.
Him.
Give Aramis the mic.
So, like, when you think of America, what do you think it is? Like, do you think it's like this, like, utopia of like, it's like great? Like, what do you think it is?
This is what I'm talking about. People listen. Anyways, when I see America, I see what it should be, but what it isn't. So when standing up for your flag, you should be one of those people that want it to be what you believe it should.
So, do you know how America started?
Yeah, everyone does. It was taught in school.
It was stolen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know how many people died?
No.
I think what Aramis is trying to explain is that it's about respect for the ideals of what it was built upon. And it's a respect for, what we stand for collectively as American citizens, what we stand for as Americans, and not necessarily what a lived reality may or may not be, because I think it's also recognition of what that lived reality is, and recognition of what we are dealing with currently. I don't think that it can be boiled down to something that simple. So let me ask Aramis. I want you to elaborate on your point, because I think you're making a really important and good point. And I think I want everyone to hear a little bit more.
People say America is we the people, but they say that they don't want to stand up for the flag because of individual people.
Okay, I think that's a fair point. Okay. So just to sort of move along, so that we have enough time to hit all of our topics. I think the last topic that you guys said you wanted to talk about today is talking about, and this one's a controversial one. This
is the hot seat. Look at it.
The hot seat. You guys are really cracking me up, because some of the facial expressions that I've been seeing are really cracking me up. But you know what I appreciate about you guys, and I have to say this because it really does mean a lot to me, is the way that you guys are able to converse with each other and discuss. I think that it's really responsible to have conversations with people who you may disagree with. Right. And I think what's really important is the way that you show respect to each other. And instead of rolling our eyes at each other, instead of turning and whispering with each other, just sort of maybe shaking your head and saying, you know what, I don't agree with you, respectfully saying, I don't agree with you, but as a human being, I respect your right to believe what you believe. And I think it's important for us as human beings to recognize that we're allowed to hold our own opinions so long as we're not hurting other people. I think that's what's really important. And I think it's important that we recognize that we are allowed to do what we want, live our lives the way that we want. That's what makes us having rights so cool, and having the right to do that so cool. But we just need to respect each other and let each other talk, especially as we go into the fall, as we discuss. So I just want to thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys being here and chatting with me and being respectful to each other. I think that's so cool that you guys were able to do that and to demonstrate that. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and thank you guys so much for joining. Now say goodbye. Bye. Bye.